Good morning, Eastern Florida State, and welcome back for another edition. We've got a great show for you, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to just getting started. And on my right, I have Mr. Rory Dobis, and he is the founder of Paws for Boots here in Brevard County. And what the organization does is he'll tell you more about it, but they train dogs such as Nora for soldiers coming back, veterans who are experiencing the post-traumatic stress syndrome. And there's so much that we can cover, and I'm really looking forward to get started. But first, let me introduce Rory. How are you? And thank you for coming.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Yeah, and fantastic. We had a chance to talk, and we'll catch you all up with the things we were discussing. But essentially, you're a veteran that served in the service, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem. You came back, and while you were in the service, you were a military dog handler, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you had, what kind of experiences you had that you thought that pets would be therapeutic for other soldiers?
Well, when I was in the military, I was in for 9 years, and I was a military police dog handler. And I was deployed with my military working dog, Isa, to Iraq, and I was stationed at Camp Taji. I would have to go to a lot of these joint service bases where American soldiers were living with local Iraqi soldiers. The conditions were horrible. They had rationed food, they had a shower maybe once a week, and you know, it took them forever to get any mail, no TV, it's just conditions were horrible for them. And whenever I showed up, everybody would see my military working dog, Isa, and get a little excited. Yeah. So what I would start doing is, when I would see the guys, even before we'd go on a mission, I would just cut my dog off leash and let her run around with the guys. They would play, I'd give them a tennis ball to play with, whatever. Because I had the dog with me 24/7 out in Iraq, so after a while I'd get kind of tired of her. So let these guys burn some of her energy off.
Right.
And they would often come up to me and say, you know, hey Canine, or hey Handler, because they never knew my name. I was Canine or Handler.
Sure.
You know, for a couple moments, you put me back home. So that made me feel good. I was able to take a soldier that was in a war zone and take his mind and put it back home on the farm or at the house with his beloved dog. Well, now we're home from the war, but the war's still going on in our mind. So how do I take a service member out of that war in their mind and help clear their mind so that they could get therapy that they need to help better their situation? Dogs.
So you went about establishing Paws for Boots. Now, did you just on your own? Did you have any startup capital, or how do you start something this big and this important?
Well, when it comes to something like this, you got to dig deep.
Yeah.
Because it's really just putting yourself out there and hoping that someone else believes in your cause as much as you do. That's really what it comes down to. I received a very small grant from a very generous attorney that's locally here on Cocoa Beach, who gave me a little startup money so that I can pay some vet bills and pay for food.
I didn't even consider all the expenses that...
The expenses alone for a dog are about at least $1,000 a year.
Really?
For a dog, and that's on average.
And then you have vets, you have food, and so on. Oh, I hate to keep jumping subject. To me, it's just fascinating.
No, absolutely.
So your source material, the dog, where do you find your dogs?
Well, I started off with my very first dog, and that was Lily. Lily is a pit bull lab mix, and she was generously donated to me by a young lady, Kimmie, and her husband. And she was just a fantastic dog, and she's done so much helping other dogs in their recovery. All I do is I go on Craigslist just when I first started, and I would find dogs that were in need of a home. All my dogs are in need of a home. I rescue dogs, train them to be service dogs so I could give them to a military veteran free of charge because they've already done their time. This is just a prescription to them from a doctor to make their lives a little bit better.
Now, Rory, is the training that you do, is it similar to what you were taught in the service?
Oh, absolutely. I go off of a regulation in the military called AR 190-12. The AR stands for Army Regulation. Every branch in the military uses this, and it's basically the fundamentals, the very basics of training a dog. From there, it just comes from me working with other trainers, communicating with friends and trainers throughout the country, and reading books, educating myself, and sharing my PTSD that I have with the dogs. So one of the big training things is whenever I'm having a very bad situation with PTSD myself, I grab the closest dog and I start giving it affection, and I start working with that dog to realize that, hey, I need help right now and you need to come to me. And then that relays back to my veterans. Yes.
So basically the companionship and helps bring the stress level down and helps that moment pass.
Oh, absolutely. Because when I start petting the dog, it's not just that dog, but I start thinking of other dogs, the dogs I served with in the military. The first dog I ever had, a black lab named Lucky, who got me into this whole game of playing with dogs. But it's just something about them, you know. It's just, they're soft, they're warm, and they never judge you.
Well, you know, Rory, I noticed that, and I've seen this on service dogs before. But you'll see this patch. You know, don't pet me. I'm a working dog. Is that something that is not bad for the dog, or is it just, you know, could you explain that? Because I always feel, I'm
Sure.
a dog person. I'm always,
Absolutely.
my first thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know, and so on like that. But what's the purpose? Just the...
Well, the purpose is when we're training the dogs, first off, we want the dog to build a relationship between the dog and the veteran.
I see.
So we want that commitment to the veteran. Also, if the dog is used to everybody petting it, come up petting it, it makes it harder for the veteran to control that dog, because now that dog wants to go and pet everybody.
Right.
And some of these dogs, especially the ones that are in training like this one, the dog hasn't ever been in a big building before. So you don't really know how that dog's going to react. The dog might be a little nervous or anything. So someone like me who's a trainer, I take these dogs into buildings for training, and we ask you to not pet it because we want to look out for your safety as well. The dog's scared. We want to make sure we control the dog, we evaluate the dog, and make the best trained dog for our veterans that we possibly can.
Now, these dogs can go into public, obviously he's in our studio,
Anywhere.
but yeah?
Anywhere. It could go on a plane with you, it could go anywhere. And that's all in accordance with the American Disability Act, also known as the ADA. The American Disability Act is very bland about service dogs and all that, but the one rule that goes across the board is a service dog is able to go into any building. It's a service to the veteran, or whoever the person is that has a request for a service dog. You're not supposed to receive any special treatment, not good or bad. You're supposed to be treated as an equal.
Yeah.
But with that said, you can be asked to leave a facility. If you're in a restaurant and you have a dog shaking hair all over the place,
Yeah.
or it's going up to other tables, it's trying to eat food or being disorderly, they can ask you to leave. And a lot of veterans or people with service dogs, they don't realize that.
Yeah.
So you can't just put a vest on your dog and say, I got a service dog, because now that opens you up to maybe some legal issues.
Now, obviously, you've mentioned a black lab, and I know, Nora's obviously not a black lab. She's what kind of breed is this?
This is Kona. Kona
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
no, that's okay.
Okay.
There's so many dogs to remember, right? I have a hard time too. But Kona is an Akita. She just recently was named. On our Facebook page, Paws for Boots, we like to be involved with all our fans and all our followers and supporters. So we had Kona, and her original name just didn't really match with her, and I wasn't feeling it inside, and I don't think she was either. So we put a request up. Hey, what do you think? We have an Akita, 3 years old. This is her personality.
Oh, that's wonderful.
What do you think her name should be? And we came up with all these great names, and we wanted to keep a theme going with an Akita being Japanese and all that. Kona's kind of Hawaiian reference, but Japan, Hawaii, they have that connection together.
Pacific Rim.
The whole Pacific Rim. So it's just really beautiful. Kona stands for lady, that I've been educated on. As far as I know, it's lady. And she very much meets that expectation. She's just a great dog.
So there's no particular breed then that can...
No, I think it's, what we like to do is the veterans ask. We have a couple dogs always on standby in case just in case a veteran needs it. It gives us kind of more training. We have a Marine that's interested in Kona right now, but that's why we just kind of keep them on standby. That way we could pass the dog off a little bit quicker because it already has training.
Okay.
But we have one veteran who was also a former Marine. He requested a Dalmatian. So I went onto the internet and I just asked all my friends, family, and followers, hey, I need a Dalmatian. And a local Dalmatian rescue in Orlando contacted me and said, hey, we have this beautiful dog that you can see on Instagram or on Facebook named Willow. And she's just absolutely gorgeous. John, my veteran, absolutely loves her. But the downside is now it takes a little time to do training. So he has to wait But now he's getting the dog he wants, not just the dog I give him. And that's something I try to do for my veterans because it's all about them being happy.
Well, that's wonderful, Roy. You know, you're helping. You know, of course, there's so many pets that need a home.
Absolutely.
And so you're helping with that need inadvertently while you're helping veterans reacclimate. And you know, maybe, you know, because it's such a field we don't know a lot about. You know, when I came back from Afghanistan, it was kind of like this hush-hush thing.
Right.
Now it's more out in the open and people are kind of understanding. And you know, we were talking before the cameras were rolling about if you had PTSD or if you checked that block or were getting psychological treatment, you're pretty much, you would not get a top secret clearance, things like that. And fortunately, through awareness and people like yourself recognizing that this is something that can be managed and treated, and it's no longer a stigma attached.
Some that veterans need to really understand, and I get this a lot now because I'm trying to be open and honest about the post-traumatic stress disorder that I have from related to combat. And I've heard it a couple times where people have made snide little comments, well, if you really did it, you wouldn't talk about it. People that really did it don't talk about what they did. Well, PTSD is named the silent killer for a reason. We've currently have lost more service members from PTSD than we have from combat-related incidents between Afghanistan and Iraq combined. The silent killer, that's because nobody wants to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Because there's other people that are going out there like, oh, you're not a real man because you're talking about what happened, so you're making it up.
Yeah.
Well, how tough are you if you keep all that inside and don't talk about it, but a few months, years later, you're thinking about suicide, and then you do commit suicide? Mm-hmm. Well, now the perception is you're not tough anymore. Now you look weak. Now in the military, it's bad. If you kill yourself, you're kind of a...
Oh, yeah. Well, now it's something that, you know, your commander looks bad
yeah.
if you have a high suicide.
Everybody looks bad. So, you know what? I'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I've been in the hospital several times. I've thought about suicide. It's a horrible experience, and it's very lonely. My little brother, who I love dearly, you know, he had an incident where he almost killed himself, but luckily my stepdad saved him and everything, and my mom. I've lost several friends now from suicide. Sometimes it's alcohol related, where they just drink too much and they get in a car accident. Because it's better to be drunk and get in a car accident and kill yourself and possibly someone else in their mind than it is to commit suicide. Neither one is right, and that's what I need to fix. Mm-hmm. We have to work together as a team. We have to be a family. We have to be a community.
Yeah.
And you have to talk about the experiences that you have, because if you don't talk about it, all that's going to happen is it's going to eat you up inside like cancer, and you're going to die from it.
Yeah. And another thing I don't think civilians understand, or people that haven't served, is, you know, the violence that takes place on a tour. It doesn't necessarily have to be on patrol. It could be, you know,
Absolutely.
similar to what you did, where you're checking a vehicle for a bomb. You don't know when
The not knowing. It's
when is your number
stressful.
up? You've driven this road this morning, and someone drove by it, and you're being brought body parts over to the TMC. It's just, that's the nature of it. And I don't think people clearly understand. You know, they watch a lot of movies, and a lot of people get their military knowledge from watching new movies. And it's like, well, you can, you know, the weak one, the one who's afraid to charge in the bullets, he's usually in the movie played as the bad person that holds up, you know, the cause.
The coward, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
What people need to understand is post-traumatic stress disorder is a tree. Okay, so you have this tree that's PTSD, it goes up, but then it branches off into many different sections. So I work with one lady who was struck by a motor vehicle and almost died, but now she has severe post-traumatic stress disorder from being hit by a vehicle. So she needs a service dog.
Probably sees it over and over.
Absolutely.
And whenever she gets
so PTSD isn't just limited to combat. It's just the focus is on combat because it's more prevalent at this time.
Right.
PTSD is something that affects many Americans throughout the country.
I'm sure police, firemen as well.
Absolutely.
The things they have to EMTs. It's, you know. Yeah.
And I would like to be a service to them as well.
Yeah.
But in order for this organization to grow bigger, I'm focusing on what I know, and that's my brothers and sisters at arms. Mm-hmm. And once I'm able to take care of them well enough, then I want to branch off to my other brothers and sisters of the United States of America. I want to take care of the firefighters, EMTs, law enforcement who have to pick up small children that are injured or killed or whatever, and putting themselves in harm to better America as well. I don't think they're recognized as much, and I really want to be able to be a service to them as well.
Well, good. Well, since we have the opportunity, can you tell how people can get in touch with you and how I know that you're probably limited, but I'm sure you can help others. Do you have a website or?
Absolutely. If you go to www.paws4boots.com, you can reach us there. Paws4boots@yahoo.com is our email address. And then you can also follow us on Instagram at Paws4Boots. And that's the fun one where you get to see us doing all the obstacles.
Oh, really?
And us out running the dogs with the ATVs, some videos.
Really?
That's the real fun page.
Gee, then it sounds like it's fun for you too.
Yeah, and Facebook. You can't forget Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook nowadays.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, I'll friend you when I.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Good. Sure, absolutely. Well, that's great. And yeah, if you don't mind, where do you think you'll be in a year? Do you think it seems like you're on the grow, having all those contacts?
Honestly, a year so far out, I just take it day by day. I'm a veteran with PTSD myself, and really I built this program on the fact that all my friends are killing themselves or hurting themselves. So this is a way to keep me going, and this is the way to take care of my friends, because I made a promise when I went into the service, and we all made a promise that you never leave a battle buddy behind. You always take care of your battle buddy. You always take care of the person to your right and left. Yeah, we're not in the war physically, but mentally we still are. So the war's still going on, and it's going to go on for years. Our brothers and sisters of Vietnam are still battling the war, and I'm a service to them as well. We can't forget them, and I encourage everybody to continue thanking Vietnam veterans, welcome them home, thank them for their service, and any vet really, because if it wasn't for all the military members before us, I wouldn't even have half the treatment that I get now.
I agree. Yeah, and I definitely appreciate it when people take the time to thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
It's just, people don't realize it's a nice thing to do.
Yes, I appreciate it greatly.
Well, Roy, is there anything else you want to add before we take a break?
I just want to put out wishes for warriors. They're a good friend of mine. Brian Marshall, I had the honor and privilege of serving with him as a contractor at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan.
I've been there, done that one.
He is a former Marine, and like me, he's trying to take care of our fellow brothers and sisters at arms. Wishes for Warriors is a program where they collect donations, and then they take wounded warriors out to do skydiving or shooting or something that they always thought about doing when they were overseas, and then they almost were taken away from us due to combat. So now we give them that chance to live that dream.
Jeez.
And it's a great program. It's 100% nonprofit. Every single penny goes back into it, and that's how I'm trying to run my charity right now.
Yeah,
their charity's a little bit older than mine, but
you've got a lot of expenses.
They're leading the way.
Yeah.
They're leading the way.
And educating people in the process, that's another expense of time that you have, talking to me and letting people know you're out there, and letting them know that they can come to you. Oh, geez, I want to ask really quick, how does a veteran contact you just through your website and say, I'd like to find out more, and you sort of get to know if this is a good thing for them?
Sure. What a veteran needs to do is if you go to the website, www.paws4boots with an S at the end.com.
Paws4Boots.
Paws4Boots, which I'm sure you'll put on the TV.
Yes, we will.
You could go there, and there'll be a link for contact us, or you could just bypass all that. Go to paws4boots@yahoo.com and contact that way. What I asked for is a copy of your DD-214, which is your discharge paperwork from the military. It shows that you served overseas and all that. And then a prescription from the doctor. Now, the reason we ask for the prescription of the doctor, it shows that you're actively getting medical treatment.
That's good.
That way, if any business or a leasing organization for your housing or anybody tries to discriminate you for having a service dog, now we have something to be able to protect you and show. So that's really what it comes down to.
So
we want to protect the veterans.
You've seen that's something I didn't even think of.
Yes.
Is, the obstacles of getting the treatment.
And it's hard because not everybody recognizes PTSD as an ailment or as a need for a service dog. So there is some discriminatory remarks and actions taken against it, but the law states that it is a serviceable dog, and we want to prove to the world that these dogs really can make a difference. And what do we have to lose? You know, because if we don't do it, we're just going to keep losing our family members.
Clearly.
Yes.
Well, hey, Roy, thanks so much for taking
Absolutely.
the time.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you came by the studio.
I'm so glad you folks invited me.
Oh, absolutely. And just remember, it's Paws, the number 4 Boots at yahoo.com to email him directly. And his website is, I'm sorry?
www.pawsforboots.com. And then you can check us out on Instagram, Paws for Boots. And then also on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Paws for Boots.
Well, geez, I'm so glad you came out.
Oh, she's happy too. She's just taking a little nap.
Well, thanks again. And we'll be back with you for our next episode of Good Morning Eastern Florida State.